A lot of us love social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, or Instagram. The need to check our phones in every waking moment is very, very strong. In 2016, in the New York magazine, the writer Andrew Sullivan wrote a blog post, he wrote a magazine article about how the constant news, images, and everything he sees on the internet finally broke him. So what I want to talk to you about in this video is how we can stop that from happening to you. You don't want to get broken by the internet, you want to break the internet. You want to break the addiction to the internet. Now, I don't want to do a very basic pros and cons list for what's good about social media, what's bad about social media, because we all use these things in a very kind of bespoke way. We basically mold it to ourselves. So of course we know there's some things which are generally not so good about social media. It can distort your reality. It can cause a lot of mental health feelings, negative feelings, and it kind of give you that kind of fear of missing out, so you have to know everything. But what I want to really go into is my own personal perspective. So everything going on in the world with the pandemic and the lockdowns in various different countries, I personally found myself really glued to my phone. Of course, with all the stuff with the protests and these kind of things, I was constantly glued to my phone and just on that Twitter feed, just refresh. There's a new video, someone's being shot, someone's being attacked, new video. And it was an addiction, and I didn't really realize it. I kind of sleptwalked into that feeling of, it's that kind of FOMO. You just don't want to miss out on what's happening in the world. I kind of got swept in. And because we are all locked down, I guess maybe it's a little bit of escapism. Maybe. So with all that, I wanted to just run an experiment on myself a little bit in order to basically rip my addiction away in some way. So what I did essentially was I deleted all social media apart from stuff like WhatsApp, because to me that's not really social media. I deleted all social media from my phone and I just kept it on my iPad. So essentially, if I wanted to scroll on Twitter endlessly or look on Instagram or anything, I'd have to go get my tablet and then do that, do it like that. So the idea was just basically to add a bit of friction to break that constant addiction, because to be honest, most of the stuff I was doing was always going to be using my phone anyway, because it's always to hand, even right now. So I ran that experiment. Now for the first few days, I did find myself kind of unlocking my phone and going into just thinking, let me just it's not there. No, it's not there. So that muscle memory was still there, and I did find myself kind of going in and looking and it's not there. So that was still a strong feeling which I had. But after a few days, that did start to die down. And usually what happened is I would generally check my tablet towards the end of the day. And, I didn't really change anything in regards to who I followed at this point. And it felt less overwhelming, because literally this kind of urge to scroll it's almost like subconscious. You don't even realize you're doing it, and then you're just there. You're looking. Now, I think most people wouldn't actually want to run this kind of experiment, because they feel like when you get a message, you have to reply back straight away. Like, I've had people tell me that, they have to reply back to a message straight away. Whether it's a DM, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, blah, blah, blah. Now, me personally, I've never really felt like that. I tried to, obviously, I'm not trying to ignore people, but I do reply back when I'm replying back. It doesn't have to be immediately when somebody sends me a message, I have to reply back. I've never actually been that way inclined. So I think in that way, running this test wasn't super hard for me because I didn't feel like, oh, someone might messaging me. So this experiment I actually only ran for about 4 weeks. The real point of this experiment wasn't to quit social media. That is very important because I don't want it to be a kind of a anti-social media experiment. The whole point is about how it can still be part of your life, but in a balanced way. So the idea was to find a way to just kind of sharply reduce it and see how I felt and what things I would change when I actually did re-download the app. So that's what I'm gonna go through next. So with this way of essentially using social media, where I'm basically restricting how much I'm using, I felt like, anyway, personally, that I started to have it kind of started to fix my sensitivity for the things I was following. So I'm going to talk about, the things I changed. But first, the first change I actually made was to turn off all notifications in relation to social media stuff. So that actually also includes YouTube notifications. So, if you told me to click the bell, doesn't matter. They're all off for me. And, even though I might tell you guys to click the bell, I would say turn it off. Because personally, I think I'm going to get into it later, but the idea with this whole video is you want social media, or all these kind of stuff we look at, you want to pull. You don't want it to be pushed onto you. So notifications is a way where things are pushed onto you, because when you're notified, a YouTube subscription or a tweet or whatever it is, there can be a feeling where you feel like you have to, in that moment, click it, and then that kind of becomes you not kind of following whatever plan you had for the day. You're now deviating from the plan. It's something you didn't really plan for, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but I think you have to be more conscious, in my opinion, about when you do just kind of have things pushed onto you. With that being said, the next thing I learned was actually, this experiment kind of allowed me to kind of recalibrate my sensitivity of the things I was following. And I basically, I went through Instagram, Twitter, and even YouTube subscribers, and I just started to just think about why I was on these platforms in the first place, right? So as my Twitter just I just follow. And looks my battery's about to run out soon. Let's see how I can finish this. And just follow. And it just came at a point, there's so many videos of just these really awful things happening. And that's not to say you have to have like an ostrich mentality, stick your head in the sand and not pay attention to what's around you in the world. But I think you should be choosing to go and find those things rather than having those things pushed onto you and having an effect on you that you can't necessarily monitor, because it can happen on a bit of a subconscious level. So that's what I did. I went through, started unfollowing people, started muting different accounts, and like I said, I asked myself why I was on various platforms for. Like, what did I really want to gain from being on Twitter? What am I really doing on Instagram? And social media isn't a bad thing, and that's kind of the conclusion I kind of came to. It's not a bad thing at all. It's really just the way you use it. If you use it in a way where you're cognizant of the things you follow, why you're following it, then it can't really have a bad effect on you, really. I mean, because at that point, the things that you don't enjoy watching, and then you can just, like I said, mute them. And through this process, you might actually realize you might have to mute some family members, some friends. Because the thing is, with social media, it's such a weird thing, because it can almost make the people it can almost make you hate the people you like. That's the funny thing I find about Twitter. There's people who you think, oh, they're cool, whatever, but then on Twitter, seeing them all the time, maybe posting, I don't know, maybe you just catch it at the wrong time, or it can, I don't know, have a bit of a negative effect in some cases. So just mute the accounts. It's not a big deal. It's you can always unmute them if you want to go back and listen to them or whatever. So just mute the accounts, unfollow the people you don't want to follow. Just realize you can like somebody and they can be your friend or whatever they are without you having to see everything they post on social media. That shouldn't be the barometer for your friendship or your whatever relationship you have with that person. So to kind of wrap this video up, I think the big takeaway for me is just to pull in the information you want and not have the information pushed onto you. You want to be conscious of the things you're consuming, because they can and they will influence you in the ways that you might not even realize. And over time, you want the net result of how you've been influenced by these things to be to be positive, not negative. So really just take in, the things you're surrounding yourself with on social media, whether they are serving you or whether they're not serving you, and whether they were the things you originally wanted to follow when you actually came on social media. Because over the years and over time, you can just end up following and kind of sleepwalking into this state where essentially your feed can become toxic, and that is toxic is always relative to whoever you are. I mean, for some people, we just accept we're different, so we have different interests, but you just have to assess it. If it's having something negative on your part, then just make the changes. You have the power. That's the thing about social media. You have the power. So that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, if you found some value, please give it a like. Please subscribe. Please share. I mean, I think this video can help some people out there. So if you think you can help somebody, share it to them. And thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.